Rob Dennis is a Grammy Award-winning audio producer and engineer whose golden ear and genre-spanning versatility have made him one of the most sought-after talents in the music industry. Born in Texas and based in Nashville, Tennessee, Rob is the founder and owner of Rack and Roll Audio Incorporated and Super Loud Music, two of the industry-leading companies behind some of the most iconic sounds in modern music. Rob's deep-rooted passion for music began at a young age, evolving into a prolific career that has seen him work with legends and chart toppers alike. His client list is a testament to his broad reach and reputation. Carrie, Underwood, Sam Hunt, Zac Brown Band, Kings of Leon, Jelly Roll, The Black Keys, Kane Brown, Garth Brooks, Reba, Tim McGraw, Luke Bryan, Jason Aldean, Taylor Swift, and The Fray, to name just a few. Rob has engineered and recorded for rock royalty, including Ringo, Starr, and Keith Richards, capturing their performances with the same care and creative instinct that has defined his career. He recorded Ringo Starr and Friends live at the Ryman Auditorium for a national ABC television special, and has worked directly with Keith Richards, further solidifying his place among the industry's elite. His impressive resume also includes work for Judas Priest, Foreigner, Lynyrd Skynyrd, Rat, and the Robert Cray Band, as well as institutions like the Fisk Jubilee Singers, Universal Music, and SiriusXM. His audio work has been featured on major platforms, including Spotify, Apple Music, ABC, PBS, and during major televised events like the CMA Awards, Super Bowl 50, and The Tonight Show with Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel Live. With multiple Grammy Awards to his name, Rob continues to bridge the gap between legacy and innovation, applying his expertise to both groundbreaking new artists and legendary performers. Whether mixing for a massive stadium performance, a historic studio session, or a national broadcast, his attention to detail and instinct for emotional impact are second to none. Rob Dennis's journey from Texas roots to the forefront of Nashville's music scene is marked by an unwavering dedication to the craft and sound. Through every project, he brings a signature blend of technical mastery and creative passion that continues to shape the way the world hears music.
Wow. Okay, I'm done.
Quite an intro.
I want to be that guy. I don't feel like that guy. By the way, guys, thanks for having me.
Absolutely,
this is the best
man.
coffee. It's already gone.
We can get you another cup and a break too.
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming on, and
Thanks for having me. It's good to get to know you guys.
Yeah.
I've been working in my studio.
In your house.
Yeah, which has been great.
yeah, I mean the top-notch service. Really, that basement is awesome.
You know, it's funny. The rule with the house has always been the studio. I have a studio in my house, and the rule's always been I don't let anyone come there to record that I wouldn't have over for dinner, and that always made it real easy, right? Like you guys were there, and I was in Costa Rica, but it was Jim and Monroe, and I know you guys, and so it's like, yeah, it's fun. It actually it helps sustain like this energy, right, of it being a creative space.
Yeah, and
I love it.
Before we got the bio on you, and until a couple of weeks ago, I couldn't have told you worked with or told anybody you work with those people. You're so freaking humble about it.
Yeah.
Like, I called Monroe last week. I said, dude, what the heck? This guy's like scary connected and talented. Like I just, it's wild. Cause when I was doing my research, I never would have guessed that about you. It's just your personality. You're kind of hiding behind the shadows.
Thank you. Definitely in the shadows. But, you know, at the end of the day, I'm a service guy, right? I work in service of those people, right? And so that's very different than being an artist, right? It's like, these are the people I've got to serve.
Yeah.
You know?
Do you see audio engineering as an art, though? Because I know you said
for
service.
sure. I kind of now, so I'm 52 now, and I look at the career much different than I did. I used to be very singular of like recording gear. Now, in my interactions with people, it's more like one whole music business. Like, what do I know? Who do I know that could be of service, right? A lot of times it's like making an introduction.
Yeah.
because it's so obvious when you've been here as long as I have. You see people, it's so obvious to you. It's not exclusive to myself. That's all of us that have been here a long time. Once you get to know someone, you instinctively know, oh, they need to write with this person, or over here at this studio, that might be a good place for them.
Nice.
And so it just feels good to help, because I had no help. This kind of dates myself, but the internet wasn't a thing when I moved here. When I moved to Nashville, the city of Nashville sent me a VHS tape telling me about Music City. That's all I knew. It's
Right.
like I didn't know anyone, didn't know anything. Had an apartment lined up over by the airport. I got there. I had to take the weekend off from work to drive out here to try to find a place to live. And I got to this apartment. I'm like, okay. I was touring, and
At the time you were touring?
yeah, that's what moved me here.
Okay, got it.
I worked for this guy John Michael Montgomery, and it was 1995, and he was just on fire. So they found me in West Texas, moved me out here. And thankfully, I had one phone number. There was a Christian rock band called Guardian. And I had the bass player's phone number. And his producers owned a studio called Sound Kitchen. And they were doing these records like Petra and all these Christian rock records. And so I went to a Chili's, called him the night I came to Nashville. I'm like, I can't be where I've lined this up. And he goes, oh, you need to go to Cool Springs. You need to go to the Landings. That's where all the music business people are. And so that totally set me up. And on day 2, we showed up at the Sound Kitchen. It was a real hot recording studio at the time. Met those people on day 2, and they took us in like family and started introducing me to people. Because back then, it's not this way now, but used to touring engineers and studio engineers, that was very
Separate.
There was a class thing that doesn't really exist now. But the studio guys were like more elite. And if you were just a touring engineer, you were kind of second class citizen. And you literally would live in different parts of town if you toured. So thankfully, that piece of advice I got on that first night set me up for the people I would meet that helped me
Wow.
on my path.
That's wild.
Does everything look good?
Yeah,
It's okay.
looks great,
All right.
man. Yeah, you could actually, if you wanted to, put that yellow pillow like up a little bit more against that. Yeah, that's better actually. Yeah, that's awesome. That's better.
So take us back to like the beginning. You grew up in West Texas.
Yep.
What part of West Texas?
Big Spring, Texas, Midland, Odessa.
Okay, cool.
The oil patch, as we like to call it. There's nothing but sunsets and pump jacks out there. It's the desert of West Texas. The oil industry is king. Football is king. Odessa Permian.
Okay.
Friday Night Lights.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's football. But I was lucky because my best friend had a dad that played in bands, and I was a drummer in 6th grade. And he came up to me on the football field one day and was like, if you'd get a drum kit, you could be my drummer. And so I went home and asked my football coach, stepdad, if I could get a drum kit. He really wasn't into that. I think he may have said no. And 3 weeks later, I came home, walked in the door, there's a drum kit. That's the kind of guy he was. So I started immediately playing in bands. And in West Texas back then, you could actually make, I think we ended up making like $1,800 a weekend. We'd go play, Friday, Saturday. So I started doing that in 6th grade. And then by high school, we were playing in bars every weekend. So it's a good way to cut your teeth, playing for drunks, as I say.
Right.
So yeah, we were self-sufficient. We had a truck, we had lights, we had a PA, we had, a note at the bank. And, I think I asked my parents to lie for me a couple times to get out of school early on Friday. And they're like, you're going to have to go talk to the principal. And so we went and talked to him. It was like, look, this is our job. We're making $1,500 a weekend. We have a truck payment. We have PA, and he excused all of our absences. And then the cheerleaders would make like, good luck tonight signs, like the football team, on our
Official
lockers.
cheerleaders.
Yeah. So that was the early on path, was playing in bands.
That's cool.
And then, I did that, and then went to college, Midland Community College there, studied recording technology. And, that was great. It wasn't a fantastic recording program, but they had a great jazz program. And so I was a dumb little 80s hard rock kid getting exposed to all this like jazz, which I never would have been receptive to. And it just kind of flipped me on my head, Sting put a record out that year called 10 Sumner's Tales, with great like odd meter songs. And I'm getting all this jazz stuff. And I just grew so much in that year, And then while I was going to college, I got a job working at a regional sound company. So like I'm going to college during the day, learning about recording, and then going to work. And, I'm going out to all these bars, running sound, taking PAs out for all these Nashville new artists that are out on a radio tour, playing in clubs.
So was it in college that you kind of fell into the audio engineering side of things? Like
it is. Okay. So my friends, the band, we all graduated early. We all, got all of our credits, and the plan was to go to Austin our senior year. And I got a girlfriend and stayed, and they went. And so and all five of us, we had only played with each other. And the idea for me of like playing with other people, I don't know, I tried it. I was in a little Christian rock band for like 3 or 4 months. Didn't love that. And I realized music, I was more interested in the entertainment side than I was like being a great drummer. Mm-hmm. And then once I moved to Nashville, that became way apparent that like, I don't love the drums that much to be that good. I like being on stage, performing. But yeah, once the band split up, they moved off. The focus became audio and recording, which is funny because all those years we were playing bars, we had a big PA system, big Triamped thing, noise gates, big mixer, Eventide harmonizer, all the stuff. I didn't have a clue how to hook any of it up. Mm. That was our best friend. We had a sound guy best friend. That was his world.
Right.
And, in the world of highly insecure bands, which this served me so well.
So in the world of bands,
you stay out of each other's lane when you're insecure. Like, hey, if he won't criticize my drumming, I won't say anything about sound. That's kind of the world I grew up in. You stayed in your own. That was your identity.
So from the outside, I would say a lot of people, when they hear audio engineer, they think really technical.
Yeah.
But you have the relationship with the producer or the artist. When you're, doing engineering setting up engineering for whether it's a Super Bowl or Jimmy Fallon or a big live event, there's got to be a craft to that, and relationship with the artist. Walk us through, like, at a high level, what's that like? Because even to me, I don't know enough about it.
The first example that came to mind was Jelly Roll came. I won't say came to me, but yeah, I got him from the start, right? Mm-hmm. Which is, that's very ideal. And, the goal, when I have these broadcast clients is, most of them have never been on TV before. They haven't been on an awards show. And, that's a whole nother deal, from knowing what camera to look at to, sometimes we pre-record the band. Mm-hmm. But, where I really cut my teeth doing that is prior to Jelly Roll, Sam Hunt was kind of the first client I had from a starter, and so much of my interaction with him, it wasn't technical, it wasn't gear, it was more confidence. It was like, I kind of have this whole thing that I share with clients where it's about like sleep, not drinking alcohol, drinking tons of water, right? And I always say, if you'll do these things, I tell you, you'll sound great. It doesn't have anything to do with me though. It's just about being mindful of, did I get enough sleep? Am I hydrated? And, I didn't drink last night. If those three things can line up, you're probably going to have a great performance, And as I've gotten older, I've realized it used to be a highly technical thing to me, and I was coming from almost like a nerd, like this gear, that. And I realized many years ago now, I realized like, if I can develop a personal relationship, it's a lot easier to do at the get-go than when you come in. Some of these other clients I have, they don't need a friend and they don't need a mentor. They just need somebody to do a task, and that's fine. I'm happy to do that. But when it's really fulfilling is when I get them at the start and can kind of hopefully share some good habits and patterns that, and now like with Sam, we literally look at each other and kind of nod, and we know what that means. I can tell when he nods, like if has he slept, he's drink plenty of water. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And now that, he's flown, he doesn't need, he's figured all that out, but it's good to get him. It's fun to get them at the early stages. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
Just kind of develop good habits, right?
Yeah.
Because you want to put your best foot forward when you're on TV and it's a big audience, and people are quick to.
It seems like there's a lot of juggling though involved to me in my head. It's like you have this space like that you've either been to or no. You have an artist, you have a producer, you have opinions, and then you have a ton of technical things to balance too. I mean, to me, that seems like a legit job and maybe hectic sometimes.
It's really weird when I go out and do live recordings because, I toured. And the touring world is, you have a lane, and they will proudly say, not my problem, not my gig, right? Mm. And I come into it respectfully of everything is my problem and everything, because one department not doing something could be what keeps me from getting what I need. So I kind of see myself in a respectful way, because I do know the conduct and the rules of the touring world, and you have to be very careful to navigate the personalities. But I kind of want to know everything that's going on. I don't, because they all affect one another. If they've, had a late load in that day, everybody's going to be really stressed, and all that stuff's important. I want all the info. I want to know what's going on, where somebody's head is, and those things actually make a bigger deal. But in the world I grew up in, you were taught to stay in your lane. But, I had a couple people that I saw, and it was like, oh, wow, they have a unique relationship with the artist, and that seems to really make for good results. And I always thought, I don't want to worry about how my peers do this. I kind of want to eventually get to a place, and it takes seasoning, and it takes many years to have that, to be allowed, I guess, to come at it from that. But I don't know if that makes sense or not. No, that does.
To me, it's like, it sounds like it's sometimes like a technical co-producer.
Yeah. Well, that's the title a lot of times for, those type events, like, like if it's a awards show or if it's a, any type of broadcast, it's kind of like, in a lot of these young bands, we're doing TV, the drums might sound horrible. Well, I used to be a drummer, and I went to school with all the drummers, and I still ask questions, and I still hire the best drum techs to come tune my kit. Mm-hmm. And every time they come, I'm asking them questions and I'm learning, right? So sometimes the first with Sam, great. I'll make this really quick. Mm-hmm. The first time I worked with Sam Hunt, and this is such a great place for all, our relationship to start. We took him to Good Morning America, and it's kind of I hate the term white gloves mixer, but when you're a broadcast engineer, you're kind of just there. You're not really showing up with any gear. You're kind of using your ears. just to make sure it sounds good on TV. And so I go downstairs for the lobby call. His best friend was his tour manager. And I'm like, great, we ready to go? Where's the crew? And he goes, oh, it's you and me. And he's like, you know, we need to load the guitars up, right? And so what am I going to do? There's no, we start throwing guitars in the van. He does it, very quickly. I realize like, oh, they have no team.
Yeah.
No team has been built out yet. Sam was out touring around with his best friend and an iPad.
Yeah.
Playing tracks. I mean, that's where this started, right? And he had just, assembled this band. And so I thought, okay, the best way I can be of service, I thought it was going to be this white gloves thing. It's like, I'm sweating. We're throwing gear in the van. Being of service, right? And so we get to Times Square to load in, and it's shut down for construction. We have to hump all this gear across Times Square. And by the time we loaded it into ABC, it was like, I'm all sweaty.
Shower
and
time. Messy.
Yeah. And then, it's like, then it becomes very apparent, oh, we need to set the back line up. I'm happy to do it. I hadn't done that in 15 plus years, right? And again, it was like, oh, he's not a musician. I need to set all the back line up and get it ready. And I do tap on the drums. They sound horrible. It's like, well, I should probably tune the drums, right? And so they didn't have a playback rig. I brought my laptop in an interface.
Wow.
Yeah, we were another funny story to that day. I had a password and I didn't have a piece of tape because this is my personal laptop. And the drummer, we're like 30 seconds to air, and the drummer's texting me, "What's a password to your computer?" And I tell him, he goes, "Bang, play," and we're off. And so literally that first performance, I tell that story when I go speak with students. I'm like, the most valuable thing, if I was valuable that day, it was just manpower, knowing how to set things up, tune things. The mix, my buddy that works there, he pretty much had the mix. I just, had to make everything happen that day. So that was fun though, because that's our touchstone. That's where we began with him.
It seems like being a Swiss Army knife these days is really powerful.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely are.
It's kind of, it's necessary for everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's true.
Do you have any?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's okay. I'm really interested to know your Nashville story. So,
okay,
like you moved to town.
Yep.
You've been working with, been playing drums. You
Yep.
went to school, dating a girl.
Yep.
Band moves to Austin. Whatever happened to them? As a quick aside.
Well, funny enough, I kind of found success early in life, and my West Texas middle class guilt, rather than doubling down my efforts and growing my business, I got the band back together.
Lovely.
Yeah, I got the band back together. I had met people. We got a record deal. We got signed to Virgin Records, and this was all like, not out of my need to want to do this, but like I felt guilty that, and I don't know what success is. I'm not saying I was successful, but at a very young age, I was blessed to have done some things that I thought would take me to 40.
Right.
And it just seemed natural. Like, I got to help my buddies out before we get the band back together. So answering your question, what happened to them? We had a band, and this is such a typical Nashville story. Friend of mine had gotten tapped to run Virgin Records, and we had showcased for another friend of mine's cousin, had put together Matchbox 20. I'd met Rob Thomas. He had heard this song that we had done called Crazy. He liked it. His interest spurred other people to take interest, and we landed a record deal with Virgin Nashville, who then closed the doors 10 months later. It's a typical Nashville story, right? But backing up, that answers the question, what happened to those guys? That they still play music. And years later, I had guilt a second time, and my best friend that I grew up playing music with wanted to do Texas country, so I started a record label, managed him, started producing music videos, got him a Bud Light sponsorship, got neons hanging in all the honky tonks in Texas. And we did that for 8, 10 years. And then I had a family and I kind of had to let that go. But my Nashville story, backing up, kind of began moving here, touring. And my plan was to tour until I could get my foot in like recording studios. And the person I was with at the time had started managing this the recording studios called Sound Kitchen. And so I was getting that look into what the life of the engineer is, and I didn't love it. Because in West Texas, I was already making records in my little house, you know, and I was fully in control. They were insignificant and they weren't great, but I was in charge. And I saw the path of the Nashville engineer, and honestly, it didn't knock me out. It was very, you know, if you're the assistant, we do this to the kick drum and the bass guitar.
Right.
Every time. The gear wouldn't move. It would come back to rack and roll, go out the next session. All the settings would be the same. So I kind of got disillusioned with that idea, and I made a conscious effort of like, when I'm engineering and producing something, I want to be like in charge, even if that means what I'm going to be doing might not ever be commercially successful. So that kind of left me with, well, how am I going to make a living?
Right.
And so I was still touring with John Michael Montgomery. I found this little rental company on Music Row. I'd always heard about this microphone, the U47, and I just knew. Now, you know, backing up, I'm coming at all of this at this early 20s is technical. I think the keys to the kingdom are all gear and technical, just because I've yet to record great musicians. So I assumed it was gear. So I go into this little rental company, I rent a U47, take it home, record this vocal on something I was working on, and it didn't knock me out. and I didn't know why. I thought, well, maybe that wasn't a good one. And I take the mic back, and this lady was like, hey, the guy that owns this company needs someone to run it. You'd be perfect. And the week prior, I had asked for a raise. I was young. I mean, I would do anything when I was touring. If a chain fell out of the bag, I would climb the lighting truss, put the chain in. I would first off the bus, meet the electrician, help tie in. I was doing stuff that I didn't realize you don't do, but I was doing everything. And so there was a raise promised to me. And, you know, I asked for it, and they're like, hey, you know, we could replace you in like a weekend. And I was like, oh, okay. I was just reminding you what you had
said,
promised.
Yeah.
And very quick. And that was very common of the music business that I grew up in, right? I missed my sister's wedding because you didn't leave the gig. You know, now you get a sub. Everyone does this. Everyone misses gigs. You didn't, that wasn't allowed back then, right? This was much different. So, you know, they had told me this, you could be replaced in a weekend. And now I know what it is. It was like older, grumpy guys not wanting to deal with this guy needs a weekend for a wedding, you know, not wanting to be inconvenienced. Well, that's the weekend I went in the rental company. And they said, hey, they need somebody. And I loved touring, but I didn't love being pulled away from my Nashville life, you know, because you would come home and stuff had happened you had missed, and you just kind of felt out of the loop, you know. And so this great offer fell in my lap that weekend. So I went out back on the road that weekend, and I'm like, hey, you said you needed, I could be replaced in a weekend. I'm giving you 4 days. And yeah, this one guy tried to humiliate me, gave me a McDonald's application that night in front of the artist in the band, and I still have it.
Oh, wow.
Still have it. And it was great motivation.
I bet.
So yeah, that was my jump off the road into the studio.
So was that so you were running it was a rental company.
Yeah, it was a rental company. It was called Ears Audio. It doesn't exist anymore.
So this was like the
Yeah.
early birth of rock and roll.
Yeah, it is. And here's what was interesting. This lady had started this company. She really didn't own any equipment, but what she had in her back pocket, she had a list of any piece of gear you would call and ask for. She knew who in town owned it.
Mm-hmm.
So she would take the call. Hey, do you have a GML EQ? Yes. When do you need it? I need it 2 days starting tomorrow. Great. Then she would hang up, get on the phone, start calling people she had sold one to, like, hey, do you got an extra GML
EQ.
Yeah, and so I would go, get that piece of gear from the guy that owned it, take it to the studio, 2 days, go back, get it, take it back to the guy that owned it. And it's kind of a great business model, right? She really didn't have any capital investment. The problem was she really wasn't paying people timely. And so I ran that company for about 18 months. And then I thought, well, I can rent these people's gear too. And I kind of went to everyone and just said, hey, I'll pay you in 30 days, even if I haven't gotten paid. And I don't want to hang on to your gear. The minute, a lot of people's gear kind of lived on the shelves there. So there was kind of a lack of accountability, right? That was maybe getting taken advantage of.
Right.
And so I thought, well, hey, if I come get your piece of gear, you'll know how many days I owe you for because it was gone 2 days. So I owe you, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so, and I'd gotten really good at getting paid, which sounds crazy, but that's a whole nother
Ball of wax. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole nother ball of wax. So that was 1997. I launched Rack and Roll. Monroe Jones was my first invoice. Monroe and Jim.
No way.
February 2nd, February 28th, 1997. Chris Rice. Yeah, that's how I met Monroe.
Is it true that the mic I was using was one of Johnny Cash's mics?
Not that one.
Okay.
But I own what we call the Cash 47. I have 3 of them. The Cash microphone doesn't really go out anymore. It's kind of became more of a museum piece.
Yeah.
I mean it's
As it should.
Well, yeah. I think it's the best 47 in town. And so I'm just very careful when it goes out. But they've all the mics in the collection have been vetted over the years, right? Like if I hear a better one, maybe I'll sell one and bring that one into to the collection.
I thought it was so neat when I walked into your studio the other day and there was 4 mics just placed out. Like, pick. You talk with Jim, I know, and Monroe was like, we're trying to do this, and then there's 4 to just pick from. And Jim's like testing them out. Okay, I think we're going to use this one. It's just so cool. You have old school, like the, I can't think of it, like the really heavy, like old soul studio. Heavy, I can't think of it.
Like RCA ribbon. I think
yes,
we had
the
a
ribbon
44.
mic.
I think we had a Neumann M49 and a 47. Monroe and Jim don't need my help with this, but I can hear your speaking voices.
Yeah.
And know what you probably need to be singing on.
Wow.
And that's another thing that I think comes in handy, and that's kind of a nod to the old record business. New artist, if you're working with a producer for the first time, the first day of vocals, we'd do a vocal shootout where, we'd bring 3 or 4 and we would find your mic. And, I have this written down, but I have it memorized, right? Like, I have the Sony 800G that Alison Krauss did 6 records on, and the, U47 that all the classic straight, the Cash 47, right? Was the house mic at a studio called Emerald. And that was all the MCA Reba records, all the MCA Vince Gill records, all the George Strait records. That's the Cash 47. So yeah, that's very helpful. And that's, I'm glad that you guys are getting exposed to that, because now SM7s are fine, but you're kind of coming up in the business in a world where the SM7 somehow became the default microphone for everything. And so that used to be a luxury. That used to be common. Now it's a luxury to do a shootout and kind of find, hey, Williams sounds great on the 47. His mic might be the 67, or it might be a SM7 for $500.
Right.
These microphones, they're old German microphones, and they became more valuable, honestly, than the sound. They sound incredible, but if one of these microphones is a $50,000 microphone, it doesn't sound 10 times better than the SM7. At the end of the day, it's really about what's the best hammer to swing to get the result.
I can't wait to use that ribbon mic.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited to
it's fun.
dive into.
Yeah, it's fun. I love that, and it's fun too. Engineers like Jim, and he already knows all this, but a lot of times I have these young guys that are coming, and I can make, if it's a husky female voice, I'm like, I've got this M49. It's all the Trisha Yearwood records. You should try that. I can tell it'll work
Right.
good. So yeah, that's really fun. I call it casting.
Yeah.
Where it's like my clients are these microphones that I've acquired, and it's kind of like a casting.
I mean, but to be able to make that artist feel comfortable in the room,
Yeah.
and it can be a mic or that headphone mix,
Yes.
is so helpful. I mean, that's
So helpful.
that has to happen from what I've
Yes.
seen.
Yeah.
So I appreciate
Oh
all
man,
that you've done.
I'm glad you guys became clients.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the from Texas to the start of rock and roll.
Right.
I think I covered most of it.
Yeah, you did. You did.
Yeah.
Okay, so then if over the last, so that's 97, that would
Yeah.
be 26 years,
Yeah.
28 years.
Yeah, 28.
Forget
Yeah.
my math. Finance, University of Georgia. Go Dogs.
Hey,
So-
you got me beat. I can't talk. Community college, folks.
So, over the last 28 years, you've seen a lot of change in the music business.
Oh, yeah.
Right. And William and I are coming up in a time where it's a completely different world than when you guys were coming up.
Yeah, so different.
Not to put you guys in a category,
No,
but just
no,
it's a
for
different
sure.
world. So, like, I think part of what we're after is going and doing it a little bit more old school.
Yeah.
There's certainly more economical ways we could make music,
For
but no, it's like there's an art there and an expertise that we want to be exposed to. And I'm not exactly sure where I'm going with this question, but like over the last 28 years, what do you think has been a couple of the big moments for you?
Yeah.
Pivotal changes that you didn't see coming.
I got you. The first pivotal change, so I'm a gear guy.
Yep.
It's all equipment. I became friends with this guy named Frank Liddell, who went on to be a huge music producer and music publisher. And he kind of liked being at my house and wanted to do a demo session at the house. And I didn't read charts. It's very important for engineers to be able to read charts, right? Mm-hmm. I didn't. We do this session at the house. Honestly, it was kind of a disaster because of me. But it was all my friends, we're in the band. And that first pass, y'all, I'd already been in Nashville a couple of years. I should have known this. By then, I'd already started rock and roll. First pass of this demo happens, and I'm getting chills telling the story. It sounded like a record, and it had nothing to do with me. And it certainly had nothing to do with my vintage tube mics and my Neve modules and all that. It was the musicians. And it was such a light bulb for me because I'd came up working with bands, occasionally got to record a great musician. And in that moment, I'm like, oh my God, this town is 100% about the song and the musicians. And that's what makes all this tick. I didn't know that. I should have known it. I'd read about it. I'd heard, but I hadn't experienced it. And when you experience something, it's completely different than, right?
Right. That's true.
And what I do and what people like, yes, we have a place. It's like a few percentage points, right? The gear and all that. it makes it better, and better is better, and we should all pursue better. But that was a big turning point for me of learning, like, oh gosh, it's about these musicians, and nowhere in the world is there a better collection of musicians, songwriters, and studios than Nashville.
Couldn't
So
agree with you more.
yeah. I mean, it was unbelievable, and I think it's honestly, I think it's very wise of you guys that you're doing that, because that you're curious and you're wanting to see what that's about, because you can always do the other.
Right.
That's always there. I think we had a really good discussion about AI one night.
I was there.
You were there.
Yeah, let's go. Yeah, let's go in.
And you know, my
Let's go
takeaway,
in.
my takeaway that night that I kind of shared is, you know, I'm 52. I came up in the old days of the music business. People my age, all they really want to talk about is how this is going to destroy everything. I'm doing all I can to learn everything about it and use it, much like you guys are, because I think it makes me way more powerful if I understand how kids are creating stuff, and I already have that other in my back pocket,
Right.
because that was my upbringing, right? So the younger guys don't,
Right.
right? So I kind of like my chances for the next 15, 20 years if I have a knowledge of both and an understanding. And I think that's what you guys are definitely getting in doing this. And you might not be making music like you're doing it now. You might not be doing it like that in a couple of years. You're going to have an understanding of it, though, which is going to unlock the keys to all this great music you've grown up hearing. You'll know how it was created. You know, y'all have done tracking sessions now, right?
Yep.
And you've had these incredible Mark Hill, Chris McHugh. I've seen pictures from these sessions, right? That's the best musicians in Nashville that are on those sessions, you know? And so you're getting to see what that's about. And it's not subtle.
Mm-hmm.
It's not subtle. You know, it's for those of us left that still care about quality, a Sono demo isn't going to be enough. If you've never experienced the other, it's pretty fun, and it might be a hit, right? We don't know what we don't know,
Right.
but when you know it, it's hard to forget, right?
That's true.
And to me, I see the more people use Sono, there's an opportunity, on both sides, to leverage the tool to create. I'm seeing that, you know,
Yeah.
not as a final record, but like a piece, another tool. But then there's also opportunity on the flip side to recording something live, because the more and more people rely on an app like that, that's getting a lot of, you know, headlines. People are going to get used to hearing that tool, but then that creates the opportunity for live music to come back.
Absolutely.
And like you're talking about, the Class A musicianship,
Yes.
that you can train as much as you want to on that tool,
Yeah.
which I think is helpful. But at the end of the day, that nothing's going to beat that human live reaction from band members.
Yeah. I love it because I'm a drummer, engineer, producer. So I can't create on my own. So I love it because I can have an idea and lyrical content, and very quickly I can get that out of my head, share it, move on. And so I'm fascinated by it. My daughter, this is really interesting. My daughter, the other day, as I'm diving down this rabbit hole, and I don't like the term, me using the term writing songs. I just call them these little creations that I'm making. The other day we're in the car and she goes, "Dad, can we not listen to any more AI music?" And it made me so proud that I'm raising a little artist, right?
Yeah.
Right.
She definitely is very in tune. She is acutely aware what's real, what's not, and she doesn't care for it. And I was like, absolutely, you know?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to be able to lose the ability to distinguish that. I mean,
I don't either.
I hope not, but
Yeah.
at some point you can kind of tell what is human and what's not based on the mistakes.
can.
And,
You can. I was telling William this the other night at the house. 3 months ago, though, I would have said, I said this so many times and I was so wrong. I would have said, I don't think AI is ever going to create something that can make me feel something or make someone cry. I think I was wrong. All the music that's been in my head the last 6 weeks is all stuff that I've created. I just find that interesting for some reason.
Right.
The sound, we all have this soundtrack that kind of plays in our head. Sometimes it drives you crazy of music kind of nonstop. Everything that's been on that frequency for me the last couple of weeks has been stuff that I've generated like that. It's probably just because that's where my focus has been, but it made me realize I was wrong. I have, I have done some stuff that I find compelling. Now will anyone else, that's not for me to guess or say, but there's nothing like the human heartbeat.
Right.
And what's special about our town is getting people in a room interacting with each other. And, I just wish it wasn't so expensive where everyone else could experience it. Right. Because there's nothing like that.
Yeah.
But I'm also glad it's kind of expensive because it keeps the musicians alive.
It keeps them alive, and it's almost like a filter too. Because the world I grew up in, you had to be good to record, and then you had to be good to sign to a record label. So there were already these filters that if a record came out, it was safe-ish to buy it. That it was going to be good, that it had already traveled through a few gates.
Right.
Right. Now, that's the professional speaking. The music fan speaking, I love the fact anyone can record. I just don't have time to aggregate my playlist and find new music. That's what I miss. Used to, if it was a rock release, I could go on Friday, and if I saw these certain names of people that produced it, I knew I liked, it was a safe bet.
Yeah.
Now it's more of a challenge because there's so much stuff.
But
That's
I
true.
will say, I don't know what platform you use. I don't have enough experience with Apple Music, but Spotify, they're staying up with the game on algorithms.
Oh, yeah.
Allowing one to find their music. I mean, they just released something now that artists are able to show that their upcoming album release, and it'll show the whole album, and it'll have the grayed out tracks, and then the ones that they've released, and the algorithm will point to what you've listened to, and I love that part.
I do too.
That was lost in the
was.
past couple of years, and I'm really glad they brought that.
They
that aspect of
aggregate content better. I've kind of gravitated to Apple Music, and I'm still having growing pains. Probably has more to do with political stuff, but the music fan in me thinks Spotify kills it. Music discovery, for whatever reason, Apple's not doing that as well, which is crazy. They should
Right. You
be
would
doing
think.
it better.
Or just buy Spotify.
Yeah. Kind of wish they would.
Yeah. I guess from an audio engineering standpoint, if there was somebody that's, at Belmont, Berkeley, whatever, or they're just doing their own thing, looking at YouTube videos, like if you were a mentor to someone that's in that space, what are like the top 3 things would you give them, piece of advice to really dive there, get their head into and really learn as they're also learning, how to use these AI tools, right?
Yeah.
How do you strike the balance of leveraging AI, but then also getting that sound integrity, keeping that sound integrity?
I love that question. That's a big part of my life. It's a big part of every day is trying to be, I say this a lot, of service. Because really at the end of the day, I have to make a living for my family, but my desire is to be of service. And if I know something that can help somebody save a day, a week, a month, it really makes me feel useful. So I love that. And we have a lot of interns that come through our building, and, I get a lot of calls from moms and dad when it's time for, it happens every week. It's time for them to go to college. They know me or my wife, and they want my opinion. And, I say this a lot. If I could go back and do it, I wouldn't have gone to college. I wouldn't have wasted my time studying recording. I would have 100% studied psychology. I give that advice a lot. The reason is I'm trying to help artists do things that they may not think they can. They might be insecure about. Trying to help them have habits and go down roads that might not feel comfortable to them. It's all personalities. And I just can't learn enough fast enough. And when I learn a new tool for identifying personalities, if maybe there's a learning the sensitivities, maybe there's some brokenness, I can identify with that kind of stuff. It's a different approach, right? I find that to be way more powerful than like any whiz bang little this is the template, this is how you get a vocal sound. So, and I feel like you guys you've came up with YouTube, right? So you can get on YouTube. My buddy Rick Beato, I mean, you can just watch his channel and you can learn so much for free. He's kind of became the YouTube music
Guy.
professor, PhD, right? He has such a vast knowledge. So, the advice is always think about the psychology of what we're doing, the human interaction, right? And a lot of us creatives, I'm not highly creative, but I would throw myself into that a bit. A lot of times we're highly sensitive, emotional, insecure, right? That's a lot. And as somebody that's trying to help creatives get where they need to be going, if I can identify things, and I find that to be way, way more useful. So that's a big one with me. I'm not sure engineers and producers of tomorrow need to go to Belmont and study recording technology. If you do, there's nowhere better you can go to do that. But it comes at a great expense, right? And that piece of paper, we literally don't care that you have it.
Right.
I hate saying that. We literally don't care if you have that piece of paper. When it comes to hiring people, I just want to know, are you a quitter or are you a finisher? If you're a finisher, I want you on my team. I can teach you. And that's how all of us are.
Right.
It's like we can teach somebody this and that equals this. But if somebody doesn't have work ethic, and I think a college degree at this point for me just kind of says, oh, they're a finisher.
Right.
Which I kind of was a quitter, but it had more to do with like go on the road or go study 2 more years, So I think the psychology thing's a big one. Get on YouTube, learn what's your platform going to be. Pro Tools, Logic, In my world, it's 100% Pro Tools. I don't know Logic. I don't know any of the others. That's, at this point, that hasn't been of any failure to me. My son, I'm sure, will know all those platforms. I'm a Pro Tools guy. Everyone I collaborate with is Pro Tools. So learn that really well. But honestly, that maybe the third thing and the most important thing is become a pro at human interaction and making friends, networking, building relationships. Like, the people you guys are hanging out with right now are the people that are going to replace me. I want to know those people too, because I've had people that I've helped. Shout out Zach Crow. People that I've helped, Zach Crow, I hired him from Play It Again Sports. I went to Play It Again Sports, bought a treadmill. He found my phone number, called me. I was like, hey man, you seem really cool when you were in here, and I'd like to learn some of this. And I'm like, show up at Rack and Roll on Monday. I'll pay you $12 an hour to run gear around town, right? Zach's had maybe 30 number ones now, from Jelly Roll to Carrie Underwood to Sam Hunt to, he would have found a kid like that. I just happened to be the guy that opened the door that he ran through.
Right.
Someone else would have opened up a door. So the reason I bring him up is, he's brought me Jelly Roll, he's brought me Carrie and Sam, right? I couldn't have seen that when he was running gear around. Thankfully, I was helpful to him. And thankfully, he has that kind of character where he even thinks about me, right?
Right.
He doesn't owe me anything, but it sure was kind of him to make those introductions and for him to trust me with those people. So, the people that you guys are networking with right now will be the people running town. It's kind of hard to think about, but it happens. And a lot of times it happens much quicker than you think it would. You'll blink and, all my friends run these companies now. And we were the ones at the bar having the beers so frustrated. Like, when's that guy going to retire? God, these same old men never retire. They're still running these record labels and they're still doing business with their people. But it's kind of like your class. So I think you have to be masterful at relationships,
Right. I'm at the point, I think now, I know I'm saying this as a young guy, but like, does the decision add peace to my life or does it not?
Yeah.
If it doesn't, then it's just not worth it.
That's good.
So it's like trying to make decisions on that from that perspective. Like,
well,
I like working with these people because they add peace to my life. So
yes,
it's fun.
I don't know if you think like this. I think maybe for you it might be, well, I can always mobilize if it's just about making money.
Right.
I have my own touchstones of like, well, I can always do this if I have to.
Yep.
The art, that's what rock and roll has kind of blessed me with.
Mm-hmm.
Is at the end of the day, I own rock and roll. We rent gear, we sell gear, we do live recordings. So like, I kind of it allows me to pick and choose good stuff to work on. Whereas my friends that are just engineers, they have to do anything that comes to
their
them.
way. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
My old joke with live recordings is, if it's something great, I go, I do it. I come home that night. I stay up most of the night. I'll mix whatever the single is. I'll put everything into it. The manager will wake up the next morning with like an email, a thank you email in an MP3. Man, that was magic. Thank you. Here's this. And then, the response might be like, oh man, that sounds good. Do you want to mix this for us? Yes. If it wasn't good, my thank you email the next day is like, thank you so much for having me. Who am I giving the hard drive to?
Right.
Right. But that's only because I have rock and roll that I've been allowed to
do that. Yeah.
Which is different. It's a blessing.
Yeah. I think for me, what that looks like is, and I haven't been a signed writer or anything like that. I love to write. I love to play guitar, obviously. I love the whole creative, production process and all that too, collaborating and all that. But for it to be more than a hobby and less than a career is kind of a sweet spot.
Yep.
Because, okay, now the mission is go make a living so you can do this.
Yeah.
And then I can be selective with who work with and that kind of a thing. And there's no rush.
And you can find your people.
Right. So, for several years, that was a really tough thing to kind of navigate because you think, okay, my goal is to get a publishing deal.
Right.
And then now I've got several friends who are no happier than me.
Right.
Or miserable that all have publishing deals. Like, well, there you go.
And they probably don't feel seen at the company and
writing all the time.
And they a lot of times don't have a champion.
Right.
That is so important. People think it's going to the big company with leverage where so-and-so is. Man, it's really about finding your champion.
It's true.
Somebody that believes in you. And, I can't stress that enough. With managers all the time, I always tell young artists, don't underestimate your friend that you've known forever that has a passion for this. You can get a lot of mileage out of that.
Right.
Maybe your friend that's known you 20 years becomes your day-to-day manager. And, yeah, you go to red light, but your friend you've known 15, 20 years that has a passion for management, he's probably the guy. And what he doesn't know, if he loves all this shit like I do, he'll figure it out. He'll meet people and ask questions,
Right.
That's very, when you get older and you have a family. I had a buddy of mine, so I had this career for 10 years while I'm doing all the things I'm doing, but I've got this record label and I'm managing my buddy I grew up playing music with. We were trying to make him one of the guys in the Texas country music scene, and I'd done a record for this band Cross Canadian Ragweed, and they were kind of the kings of the red dirt scene, and so I was kind of able to place him in opening for my friends. And it's funny, I learned so much through doing that, in that there's certain things you can't shortchange, and you can create opportunities for artists, but at a certain point the wheels have to come off the runway, right? And sometimes it doesn't matter how you can position someone. At a certain point, you can't work harder than the artist is willing to work, and through that season, it was like 8-10 years. I was making this guy's third record, and it just wasn't fun anymore. And I was having starting a family. And I just thought, what would happen to my career? This sounds so twisted, but I was like, what if I'm managing myself? Which is, it's almost like I'm two people.
Right.
If I came to myself as a client, what if I applied all this energy? I probably wouldn't let myself down. I probably would work as hard as the guy managing me would. And it was really good for me. It refocused me. But in that period, that detour of me trying to help a friend, I learned how to make music videos, how to write music videos. I learned how to negotiate sponsorships. I made relationships at GAC, CMT, some of the regional, this one guy that was a regional Texas radio guy, 15 years later starts running SiriusXM. So, 15 years later, I'm going to record Thomas Rhett or whoever it is at SiriusXM. And, I'm just the guy there recording, doing the live air mix. But the head guy at SiriusXM and I are friends, which blows the SiriusXM tech crew out of the water. Like, how do you know him? And I'm like, well, I actually took him to CRS and I was managing an act and he was giving us 12 spins and, Beaumont, Texas. And so I took him to CRS and introduced him to everybody, and he's 15 years down the road in his career. Right. And at this point in my life, I'm kind of surrounded by those kinds of stories where, I try to take assistants with me and interns when I can on these gigs, and they always have these questions. And I'm always quick to tell them, that guy that came over here that's managing this, I've known him 30 years. Like,
Right.
That's what that is. Like, we came up together. We helped one another. It's not that I'm the best. I'm dependable, And when I was making music videos, we would hire these young kids to help us shoot. And they're like 10 times better than me as far as like shooting and editing. And I was always really quick to tell them, because I understand their vantage point. Like, I'm better than Rob. I know how to do this better than Rob. He doesn't even know how to
Operate
do
a camera.
color correction,
Right.
And I would always pull them aside and go, hey, I understand your point of view, what you're thinking. Just, you need to understand I'm trustworthy. Warner Brothers knows they can give me $30,000 or whatever the budget is, and I'm going to turn a music video in. And they're going to get what they need. And just be patient. You'll build that trust, but that trust just isn't earned because you're good.
Right.
You're a great editor. You're good with color correction. It was like, you have no pedigree yet, you know.
Yeah.
And then it happens, and you do it once, and you prove yourself worthy, and then you can have your own little career. But, you know, I just couldn't wait for people to get out of the way because I thought I need to offer what I can do, you know.
Yeah.
It's really hard to hear when you're young that you just got to wait. I've got a great story
Yeah. It is
about waiting. So when I moved to town, Warner Brothers Records was one of the biggest, right? And there was this guy, Jim Ed Norman. He was a legendary executive figure, right? He ran Warner Brothers, and they had all the biggest acts. They had like Travis Tritt, Randy Travis, Faith Hill. Who else did they have? They had Dwight Yoakam. They had, God, their roster was just stacked, right? Blake Shelton was just, you know, at the bottom of that roster. There was like Blake Shelton and all these legends, right? And the guy that signed me is a guy named Scott Hendricks, had signed me to Virgin. He eventually got tapped to come run Warner Brothers in like, I don't know, 2005, 2006. And, you know, Faith Hill had kind of became more inactive, just not making records. You know, Dwight had left the label. Randy Travis was kind of inactive. Scott inherited that label, and it was like, who do we have? Blake Shelton. You know, and, you know, I think he had like Some Beach and Austin, and he had some hits, but, yeah, he's kind of a mid-level guy. And, you know, that is, I use that example a lot of just staying the course, staying at it. It was his turn. You know, does that make sense?
Right.
And he was already successful by like most people's standards, but he wasn't a megastar yet, you know. And then it was his turn. There was no one. It was his turn in line. And that's my biggest piece of advice I give people. It's like, man, just don't quit. Trust me. I'm living proof. Like, stay in the game. Most people will quit.
Yeah.
And, you know, it seems so overwhelming in the get-go of like, oh, God, this guy's so talented and that guy. The good news is they're all going to quit. They're all going to quit. So just don't quit. And you've just like doubled your odds, right? Stay at the game, you know? And in those times where I was scared, still happens. I just kind of do this like, you're a lifer. It's like I can just kind of tap myself and tell myself that. And it's like, there's no B plan. Just be a lifer. Make the adjustments as you're going through this crazy trauma that is the music business. And maybe life is like that. This is all I've done since I was 14. So
Right.
maybe it's like that in every industry. I have no clue. But just don't quit. And yeah, everybody says that, but really think about what that means to you to not quit. Do I need to make a lifestyle adjustment? Do I need a fifth or sixth roommate that will allow me the ability to not quit? You know, am I okay with everyone else getting married and having a family and me not, to not quit, you know? So anyway, that's my
Great advice.
words of encouragement.
Yeah.
That's good.
You know,
I have a couple more questions, but I know when we were in your studio the other day, just talking about the podcast, just, is there anything that you would like to, like, we'll get this out of the podcast, but is there anything you want to bring up, like, that'd be nice? Like, for instance, any current projects you're on, or just any other topics we haven't hit yet that you're like, oh, I wish we could get, you know.
Yeah. But the thing that's on the top of my mind right now is, you guys mentioned this. I got to work with Ringo back in January, and that was kind of like a dopamine.
Oh, that was this
wave.
year.
That was this year. That was like a dopamine wave that kind of took me into March.
Okay.
It was only like 5 days of work, but like the dopamine wave kind of took me into March. And after that, I don't ever know what's next.
Right.
I never have. Like, you know, people always ask, I go, hey, what's coming up? And I always go, I don't know, but I'm going to wake up. I'm excited because historically shit happens that blows my mind. And I always feel like there's one of those coming. I don't know when it's going to come. It's kind of exciting.
Sure.
and scary, but exciting. And so I got booked on this Eric Church thing. We just finished it, where he has this new record out. It's a concept record. Have y'all heard it? You need to listen to it. It's called Evangeline versus the Machine. It's almost like Eric Church does Pink Floyd. So, good friend of mine produces him. One of my other good friends has engineered all of his records. And so we did this 2 shows at Pinnacle. I can't wait for this thing to come out, y'all. I'm so excited. So I just recorded it. My friend Jason Hall is going to mix it. And then one of my best friends is going to do the IMAX and the cinema, mix of it. But, long story short, it's this whole concept record. And the audience had no clue what they were walking into. The lights, the house lights go down, and he plays Pink Floyd for 27 minutes before he comes on stage. And every Floyd song that changes, the light scheme changes. And I don't think this will make the broadcast because of music clearances, and then all the camera guys, there were platforms out in the middle of the floor, and they all had hazmat suits on, and there were camera ops like on these towers, like 15, 20 feet on the stage, aiming down, and they wrapped their cameras to make them look like old 50s broadcast cameras. And so we're sitting in broadcast watching the fans, and that's really hard for me to be in record for 27 minutes before the band, because my whole like live recording thing is like testing these systems for, like, if it's a 2-hour recording, I'll test it at Rack and Roll with twice the amount of tracks, twice the amount of time. And so I'm just always nervous about things crashing, and we have systems in place, triplicate recording, but it makes me nervous being in red without a band plan. So anyway, he comes out. Him and his manager had bought a spider camera like they use in the NFL.
Yep.
Right? And so it's getting these great shots, as you can imagine, navigating around. But the next thing they did is, this concept is Evangeline versus the Machine. The Machine being like technology, AI, being watched. They dressed the freaking spider cam to be the machine that's doing the surveillance on Eric, and it's got lights on top of it. So it's like a character. Anyway, it was the coolest thing. So anyway, that's going to come out this year. And I got to introduce Eric's camp, Jay Joyce and Jason Hall, to my good friend Fred Paragano, who's one of the best, film, TV mixers. And so Fred's going to help them with, all of that. So I'm super excited about that. And then Ringo, we should touch on Ringo.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know if y'all got any of those. Did we talk about this at all?
No, go in.
In front of Monroe or anything?
No.
This is the first time I've heard about it,
Okay,
other than seeing it on your...
Well, so, I'm 52. I wasn't really a Beatles fan growing up. You know what I mean? Like,
Sure.
I grew up listening to the music that was inspired from the Beatles, but the Beatles weren't like a big thing to me. So I really didn't start coming to it till like, 30 plus, So anyway, T-Bone Burnett has been a Rack and Roll. Do y'all know who T-Bone Burnett is? He's like the record makers, the coolest producer, the coolest of cool, right? So we've taken care of T-Bone Burnett since 2000. And when I say taking care, rented him gear, and he's done all these great movies. Oh Brother, Where Art Thou was the first one, and then Cold Mountain, all these great movies. And he would rent all this gear from us, and we got to know him a little bit. And then years later, I was a set director on the TV show Nashville, and I built a recording studio on the set to look like Ocean Way.
Okay.
Because it was getting expensive for them to go to Ocean Way to shoot. And they were like, why don't we just build a studio out here and make it a set? And we don't have to book the studio, So I get a call from T-Bone. T-Bone's wife created the TV show Nashville. Her name's Callie. It's unbelievable. She wrote and directed Thelma and Louise. They're a power couple. She's as impressive as in that world as he is in music, right? So she created this show Nashville, tapped her husband to do all the music. Season 1, the music for Nashville season 1 is like no joke. It was okay later on, but season 1 was like no joke. So long story short, they call me on like a Wednesday with this crazy idea of like, hey, can we build a studio that looks like Ocean Way? And Ocean Way has this one-of-a-kind Neve 8078. It's the largest. Basically, they took 2 old Neves, butted them up, and made this mega Neve.
Spaceship.
Yeah. So a good friend of mine had one in storage. And that's just a random, piece of useless data I had in my head. And so they call, and I'm like, I always say yes, and then I figure it out. And so I say yes, because I have all this outboard gear that you would see in a studio that, used to rent all the time, doesn't rent so much now. So, I take it all up there. I call my friend Gary Bells. I'm like, hey, can I rent that console from you? Sure. What are you using it for? I'm like, set in Nashville, how's $2,500 a week? It's sitting in storage. He's like, oh yeah, great. So I bundle all this together, take big studio monitors. I break all the racks down in my studio, fill them up with gear, get them to the set. And in like 48 hours, we build
Ocean Way. And the set designers for that show, I had never worked in TV. So I just didn't know what I didn't know, They built this studio. I had the automation working, all of it. And then, and I was kind of blessed by T-Bone, so nobody screwed with me the first season. It was like, Rob is, and I think T-Bone even told someone, the director's like, he knows what I do in the studio, and he's going to do that here, and just let him do his thing. And so I did, and then I got to work with all the actors and teach them how to interact with the technology. That way it looked believable on camera.
Nice.
Like little Pro Tools shortcuts, like, hey, when you're doing the computer, do it like this. And
we met, what's the main actress's name? That's
Connie Britton.
No, not Connie.
The blonde.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hayden.
No, not Hayden.
The Australian.
The Australian.
With the accent.
Yeah.
Lovely person. Sorry, her name is escaping me.
Me too. But we ran into her over at Tom's house.
Yeah. Tom Douglas's.
Yeah.
Oh, y'all know Tom?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Tom.
We
Yeah,
just
great.
met him. Yeah, recently.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
How did you get to meet Tom Douglas?
Through Monroe.
Unbelievable. That's right.
Yeah.
They have history.
Yeah. Pretty cool.
He's a good friend, and y'all seen his documentary?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the first time I actually saw Tom was down at the Fox and Lock.
Yeah.
Have you been down there?
Yeah.
Since it's changed from Puckett's and all that. But he did his whole Dear Tom.
Oh, good.
Or Love Tom.
Yeah.
From Tom.
Yeah.
I think it's
Love
Love
Tom.
Tom.
Love
Yeah,
Tom.
it's Love Tom.
Oh, it's so good.
Phenomenal.
He's the best of what Nashville can be.
That's a great way to put that.
So that's real Tom. Dan Huff,
Yep.
Tom Douglas. They're on my little Nashville Mount Rushmore of their quality music people and their quality human beings, and that it's on the same level. Y'all are blessed that you got to meet him.
Absolutely.
To foster that relationship, because there's nobody.
Yeah, we were at his house for his second show thing he was releasing, and we met him and one of the writers that helped him write this new piece, Richie, which we have had on the podcast. We've written with him, and I mean, just two brilliant minds.
One of my best friends is a songwriter named James Slater, and him and Tom play tons of shows together. They've had a standing writing appointment for 20 years, and there's just nobody finer. He is a amazing human being. Well, where were we before we made that incredible?
We were talking
detour?
about Ocean Way and the one that you built.
Yeah.
So you're training everybody.
Yeah, so I'm training everyone to use the technology, and that was one of those things I didn't see coming. It was a blast. It was fun. It was TV. Everyone was so excited, and it was fun. That was a season, right, where I had all this equipment, and this opportunity came to me, and I said yes, because I always say yes, and then you figure it out. And it was really fun for a season.
You know what's really cool about that too is I was in college, I think, when I was watching that show.
Really?
And it was like, this is pre-Nashville for me.
Yeah.
So I'm like, this is kind of, I'm
Yes.
sure it's a dramatized version of
But
it,
it
but
was
this is
real-ish.
kind of what it is. Yeah.
I mean, T-Bone and Mike Persante would give me the stems of the music. They were cutting music weekly before that. And it was a great shot in the arm for the publishing community too, because all of a sudden you might write something and then a couple weeks later it's recorded and it's on the TV show. It was a big shot in the arm. And so they would send me the stems and I would set the console up and label the console. And season 1, if you see meters dancing, they're dancing in time to the music that you're hearing. It was so real.
That is awesome.
Until it wasn't. You know,
Until it
it's
wasn't.
expensive.
Right.
It's expensive to do that. He left after season 1. And
Got it.
I kind of hung in there, but it wasn't the same. But season 1 was awesome.
Yeah. What part of Taylor Swift's career, what were you doing?
That,
on that
you know,
side?
that's hardly, probably shouldn't even be on there. But I had this great moment where she had written Love Story.
Mm-hmm.
And I recorded her on the steps of the Ryman.
That's still freaking awesome.
Yeah. I don't even know. It's funny. My daughter just found it on YouTube. It's kind of even hard to find. But, you know, a lot of what we do is we go out and we don't say no when we get these calls to do these remotes. Yeah. And so, yeah, she was already Taylor Swift, you know, but it was right before Fearless came out and no one had heard Love Story. And they brought her out on the backside of the Ryman, kind of like what people would call a pop-up now. You know, it's like, boom, there she is, and she performed Love Story for the first time.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's maybe slightly reaching. That's it.
Yeah.
There's nothing more to that story. That was a one and done.
I think my last question I have is, like, you've had an amazing career. You've worked with incredible artists, producers. What's your dream now? Like, or what would be your dream project? What are you aiming for? What would be super neat?
Yeah.
That was a question that I had too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That really, that's a hard one to answer. I have an answer for it, but real quickly, a lot happened early and it was awesome. And it was my path. Everyone's path is different. When that happens, when in a short period of time, you get to do things that you thought would take you into your 40s and 50s. The downside to that is maybe you haven't dreamed big enough. And I think I'm guilty of that because my childhood and my world coming up was kind of so small. Just even the idea of being in Nashville in the music business, making a living seemed crazy. Expecting it to buy me a house, you know. So much happened to me so quickly, I kind of maybe didn't dream big enough. And I only bring that up to encourage other people, like, dream crazy, because your dreams actually might happen. And then the question is, what now? Which is, when y'all ask me that question, that hopefully gives you context.
Yeah.
Yep.
Sometimes I might not have an answer, but I do. And this sounds crazy to verbalize, but Sting,
Yeah.
Elton John, Paul, you know, those are I don't know that it'll happen, but those are the three. And I've been really blessed. All these posters on my wall that I had as a kid, most of them at this point, I've had, you know. And what I do when I work with these people, a lot of times it's a day. I recorded a show for a broadcast and I got to interact with them, and it was over. We're not spending large amounts of time. If they're a broadcast client, yes, we are, and I'm getting to know them. But yeah, that's kind of the list. Like Sting, Elton, Paul McCartney. That sounds crazy to say out loud, but in a capacity of what I do, recording live shows, that would really light me up. but I can't talk enough about the Ringo thing. Like that was a
Yeah,
start
let's,
that, not finish.
Yeah,
it?
you
yeah, let's
started-
go
yeah.
back to that
You
because
said the dopamine rush that lasted.
That's right.
And then we went to Nashville, but let's go. Let's
Yeah. That was T-Bone. Sorry, I do
little
this.
sidetrack.
I do this a lot. That was a big sidetrack. So this Ringo thing got announced that he was coming to the Ryman. I'm blessed to work at the Ryman a lot. I recorded, I don't know if it's hundreds or not. It's definitely 100+ shows at this point that I've gotten to record at the Ryman. And so these Ringo dates went on sale, and the guy that hires me at the Ryman, I'm like, hey man, whatever. I don't even need to get paid. Like, if they want to record that, I want to do it. He goes, yeah, I don't know, a lot of moving pieces. It didn't sound promising, right? But I had to say it. And so I circle back. I let 2 or 3 weeks go by, and I just circle back. They're not asking for quotes. They're not even, right? This is me just hustling. And I reach back out, and he goes, yeah, they might be interested, but I think it's going to be a truck gig. Now, my specialty is I have this remote flight pack. And what I love about that is I'm not in a truck. I'm 15 feet from the stage, and I just prefer that so much more because you interact with the band and crew and you know what's going on and you feel the energy. You can solve problems before they happen. When you're in a truck, you're watching, they stick a camera and you have like one POV to see a wide shot. You have no clue what's going on.
When you say a truck, what does
Like
that mean?
like a broadcast truck, like an 18-wheeler.
I see. Got it.
And a lot of times that makes the most sense in an audio video thing. So I'd check back in a third time and they're like, yeah, they might be interested. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the number. And, it was the number minus Rob really wants to do it. I didn't want money to be the reason I didn't get to do it. And so I kind of quoted it aggressively, thinking it was 2 days. Well, then I realize I need to work it from the other side. And so I contact T-Bone's folks. And I go, hey, I want y'all to know this number, this quote. I don't know if the Ryman told you guys I'm the person. And I just want to make sure that T-Bone knows it's me that the Ryman is proposing because, he's been a client and I know he would feel comfortable, right? And his engineer was like, oh, yeah, no, we didn't know that. And I can tell you, you're the guy. There's nobody else that should do that. And I'm like, really? I mean, it was crazy, but it wasn't a done thing. And so I'm kind of playing both sides, like
Right.
It makes, and not trying to undermine anyone. I just really wanted to do this gig.
Right.
Absolutely.
And I've never worked this hard to like land a gig. So anyway, I had the confidence of the T-Bone camp, and the Ryman really doesn't care. They just want to facilitate whatever the need is. So anyway, I get it, which is crazy. I spent 3 weeks prepping for it. I mean, I changed all of our battery backups, had fresh batteries. All the drives were new. I tested them for, 10, 12 hours, trying to make the rig crash. It was 96 inputs, which is a lot of inputs. So then 2 days, 3 proposed days, actually ended up being 4 or 5 days. We had a load-in day. They just wanted to get the gear in the house where the instruments could settle into the room. All the vintage instruments could just heat up, right? So we go in that day. I get set up. The next day is the load-in day. Then we had a rehearsal day. Then we had 2 show days. So, stage left at the Ryman, there's one dressing room in the production office, right? Usually I'm in the one dressing room. And that puts me on the monitor side of the stage, and that's where I like to be. Sometimes they can't give up the dressing room, and so they'll crowbar me in the production office, which isn't a great idea because the tour personnel needs to be in there doing what they're doing. So anyway, we get there day 1, and I set up, and the the tour manager is like, I'll go upstairs. You're going to need all this room. I'm like, oh, great. So we get set up, and I told my assistant, I'm like, I want you to go get 6 chairs, and I want you to lay all these chairs out and have them facing the hallway. I'm trying to make it an inviting place, right? And man, that served us so well because like this was a who's who. It was like, oh gosh, the names, I mean, it was like Jack White, Billy Strings, Molly Tuttle, Brenda Lee, like new and old legends, right? And at the Ryman, everyone just goes to the production office to kind of check in. Well, that's my room. And so we kept like 20, 30 waters out. We had the chairs. I was like, hey, I'm Rob. I'm here to record. Sit down.
Yeah.
Man, the conversations, it's like we sat there and like Paul Franklin, who is like the godfather of the steel guitar, him and Jack White were having a conversation for like 30 minutes about steel guitar, and then, Ringo and Barbara walk in and he sees my rack of Neves and he goes, oh, Neve, nothing but the best. And kind of walks by, I'm like, how freaking, if I had that sound bite, what would that be worth to them, right? Interesting though, Ringo and his wife walk in and there's like no security detail, which I find hugely fascinating. There's a tour manager who's older and couldn't take a bullet for anyone, but I thought that was so cool that they just kind of walked in and, very personable. He had a juice girl that was like juicing all day long, like just pumping him full of. It's like he's just like drinking juice all day. He hasn't had sugar in like 25,
good for him,
30 years. And I can't demonstrate this because I'm sitting down. Ringo Starr's resting position is fully back and shoulders back, bouncing on his heels. It's not the I'm 82.
Yeah.
And I'm bent over. It's like
he's healthy. And I don't know. It was a whole week of those kinds of takeaways, right? And I have stories forever, but I just couldn't wait I got to spend quality time with T-Bone, which, multi-day shoots, when those happen, it's great because you have time to build relationships, right? So, and Ringo's camp was like, it's a who's who of band and crew. It's like the best front of house guy touring. Shout out to my buddy Brian. His whole crew, it's like that. It's like who's the best, So it was just magic. And so I can't foresee anything being more exciting than that, Keith Richards popped up on a show I did this year at the Country Music Hall of Fame, and we had no clue it was happening until there was Keith on the rehearsal sheet, and I assumed Keith Urban, right?
Because he's Keith. Anytime you see he's a one name guy now. I'll be damned if it wasn't Keith Richards. Keith Richards' guitar tech, his name's Pierre. He has an entourage. He had 2 guys there just taking care of him to give you some scale, right? He's a legend in roadie culture, right? Keith's guy is like the guy. And so just watching this dance, and Keith jumped up and Steve Jordan jumped up.
Oh, wow.
And did a song, and it was unbelievable.
Yeah, that's amazing.
But anyway, I'm getting long.
No, you're good. I think this has been
good.
I mean, I know it's been amazing.
Awesome.
I hope you got something you can use.
Oh,
yeah.
Yeah, it blew the expectations all over the water.
This is great. And it's been just fun hanging out.
Yeah.
You a little bit.